Alrighty, here we are on episode 2 of our Criminal Island playthrough. On the last episode, we pretty quickly made it through the colonial era. We pulled it off in about 3 years, which is pretty quick. And I think for this episode, I'm going to focus on making it through the next era, which is the World Wars era. And I think I'll wait until after we make it to either the Cold War era or the modern era to start fostering a lot of criminals on the island. But without further ado, let's get into it. So here's a good shot of our budding little island. Everything's functioning pretty well. Every month we should be generating profit, and the population should be pretty happy with how things are going. But now that we are in the World Wars era, there's a lot of expansion that I want to do. I've been giving it some thought, and there's some pretty unique ideas that I want to try for this island. And so if you watch the beginner's guide that I released, you'll know that there's a bunch of ways to provide services for broke Tropicans. So we got things like the bunkhouse, which can provide free housing. And then chapels can provide free healthcare to broke Tropicans. And so there's a lot of things like that, and so that's how I want to set this island up, is I want a lot of services that are for broke Tropicans. And so I want to set the island up to kind of have like a cap on the jobs, so at a certain point, anyone else that moves to the island will have like no choice but to turn into a criminal. But as long as they're broke, they'll still get all the services that they need. But that's not going to be the focus of this episode. What we're going to focus on is making it through the World Wars era. And now that we are in the World Wars era, we have access to the cigar factory and the steel mill. And we also have access to the coal power plant. And so if we check out our deposits nearby, we can see that we have we have a coal deposit here. 200,000 units of coal in this one. That's pretty good. And then there's also this iron deposit over here. And so I think I'm going to focus on trying to completely mine these two deposits out. Maybe this gold mine as well. And then later on, to fund the economy, like way in the future, we can move on to this iron deposit and this coal deposit. As you can see, these like really big deposits, and they have over 400,000, or well, exactly 400,000 units of the mined resource. Right at the end of the last episode, a bunch of new people moved onto the island, and so we got a bunch of new homeless families, and we got a bunch of new unemployed Tropicans. For this era, I'm going to try and keep everyone well off. Try not to focus too much on getting a lot of poor Tropicans. Definitely don't want broke Tropicans quite yet. We also have access to the apartment. And so with a build like this, what you could do is you could just upgrade these country houses. All you'd have to do is unlock the house, and then you can start upgrading them. These houses compared to the country houses are way better. They can fit more Tropicans, and then they'll also provide a much higher rent. And they'll also give a much better housing quality. By comparison, the apartment building here, it's not going to give quite as much rent in terms of like per household that it's going to be housing. And it's also not going to give quite as high of a housing quality, but we will be able to have a pretty densely populated city here with these. We also have access to the flop house now. I think eventually, once we make it to the next era, or maybe into the modern era, I'll start building some of these up, and then some tenements as well. And the end goal is to get like a lot of modern apartments. So just giving some quick thought into it. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it in this episode. Well, yeah, maybe I will. So I'll end up moving these tobacco plantations, as well as these two plantations on this side. Maybe just like move them down or somewhere over here. And then we'll build up our coal power plants here and then start turning this into our industrial zone. So we'll have to completely erase these two neighborhoods here. But as we erase these neighborhoods, we can start building up some new apartment complexes. So to quickly make it through the World War era, you want to build a commando garrison right away. And then you're also going to want to build an embassy right away. At least one. So you need at least one embassy. You can build two for this era, and you can also use two in the next era, and then in the modern era you can use a total of 5. But for this, we're just going to build one, and then one commando garrison. I think I'm going to get this all out of the way, like, right away. Huge tip, you never want to build your commando garrison too close to your population. Right now it wouldn't be too bad because we have these two newspapers here, but if we were to leave it, like, say, somewhere like right here, you might not be able to tell, but there's an orange circle around the commando garrison way out here. And if we just check out the Liberty overlay, we can see that right here, you'll notice that it says 50. And so if there's Tropicans that are unhappy and they have a Liberty score, or if they're like walking around in an area with a Liberty score below 50, then there's a chance that they'll turn into a rebel. And so as we can see, when we move closer to the town next to these newspapers, the Liberty score is getting much higher up. And so the Commando Garrison is going to lower this below 50. And so you don't want to build this next to your population. That's just like a major tip. At least early on. Way later in the future, whenever you get like a lot of Liberty all over the island, it won't be as much of a problem. But we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. Go ahead and build our first embassy as well. It doesn't really matter where you build the embassy. I'll just slap it down here. Give them some nice little parks out front. I think this will look nice, just like that. And we'll just go ahead and build a road. Build a road real quick around it. Another tip is that changing the priority isn't going to make the construction workers move faster. It's just going to make them have like a list and they'll go down the list. And so putting these two buildings on high priority will make the construction workers come to these two buildings first. And so as we can see, we got a bunch of houses that they're also tasked with constructing, but they'll go and build those ones first. And so as a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these houses here in this little park. Press play, let it build out a little bit, and then we'll build our first apartment here. Little tip. If you look, you can see some plants on the back side of this building, and then on the front side there's no plants. And so that's how you can know which way the apartment is facing. So we'll go ahead and put the plants in the back. Kind of get like a good building, something that I like. That one looks good. And so now we got our first apartment getting built up. We got the two buildings we need to move through this era. And we'll go ahead and start construction on some new mines. If you watch the beginner's guide I made, you'll know that each mine, like one coal mine, can fuel 2 coal power plants. And so we'll get 2 down. And then on top of that, 1 coal mine can fuel a total of 1 steel mill. And so this is enough for 2 coal power plants and 1 steel mill. And we'll go ahead and get some iron down. It's just nice to be able to produce these early on. And then eventually we can start processing all of the mined resources here. This boat is leaving, I believe. Yeah, so that boat is leaving. And we have a total of 15 unemployed people, so I'll just go ahead and quick build up maybe all of these. I'll just quick build all of these up real quick. I want to keep everyone well off, so we need to go max budget on all of these mines. No upgrades, I don't think. You can change it to profit protocol. I don't like doing this because it's going to make the job quality really, really low, and so it's just going to drag down your support. DLC thing, not terribly worried about those. We can get 2 more jobs per coal mine with this upgrade here. I'll just go ahead and pop that now. So now we got plenty of extra jobs, and as soon as this finishes up, we'll have definitely enough housing. Potentially. 10 households, yeah, it should be enough. So now that the city's growing quite a bit, you can start checking out your residential occupancy, figuring out where people want to live and stuff. So as we can see, there's like this whole neighborhood and this whole neighborhood are completely full, and that's probably because of these 2 plantations here. But as we can see, this side of the town, not many people are wanting to live over here. And it's probably because there's just no jobs out this way. Finished advanced boat services. So right away, as soon as you make it to the World Wars era, the first thing you want to research is the newspaper, every single time. And the reason is that you can start influencing your population towards a certain faction. And so the reason that I like building up 2 newspapers right away, right at the beginning of the game, is because you can use one newspaper to influence people towards capitalism or communism, and then the other newspaper towards religion or the militarist faction. For this island build specifically, I think I'm going to push everyone towards capitalists because we're kind of emulating America here. And then for religious and the militarist factions, I'm not really going to try and influence these. Yeah, I'm not terribly worried about either of these 2 factions here. So as soon as we finish researching the newspaper, we'll put one on deals and profit. And for this one, we'll just go ahead and put it on the penny saver now. Actually, we'll put them both on the penny saver. As a matter of fact, I never turned up the volume on the last episode. Okay, there we go. New boat coming in. Whenever your happiness is way above the Caribbean happiness, that's when you start getting a lot of people moving to the island. And so we might start noticing that we're just getting like a lot of immigrants. One of the first things that people are going to start complaining about whenever you make it to this era is that they want better healthcare. So we'll go ahead and consider where we're going to put a new clinic right now. As a matter of fact, well, if we check out the overlays, we find a house that no one's living in. No one's living in these 2 houses. Just destroy all this real quick. And we can build a new clinic right here. Finish it off with a couple of parks. I like the idea of having a little fountain out front. Just like that. Finished up our commando garrison. Put the budget to the max. This is going to be really expensive, so in my beginner's guide I talked about it. You want to focus on making money before you invest in something this heavily. And so getting this commando garrison up, it's only existed, like every month we're losing $55. It's been up for 2 months and we lost $100. So you can imagine, like, after a year, you're down $1,000 and it's not giving you anything. And so, like, ideally you'd want to really set up these mines first before you kind of built up this commando garrison. We did it at the same time, so it's not too bad. As soon as this last worker slot gets filled in, we can start doing we can start doing the raids. To move through this era, you want to become allies with one of these 2 superpowers here, and then you want to do the sabotage raid on the other superpower. You need to pull off a total of 4, and then they'll give you one last task. Because we're emulating America, I'm going to choose the allies. So we need this to get above 81, so 81 or higher. And it's already at 55 because we invited them. So this boat just showed up. I'm a little late on that, it's fine. So you want to go to your trades, sort by import export, and then come down to the imports. And so here we can see we can import cocoa. The percentage isn't too important. What's really important is that just by accepting this trade, it's another +5. So we'll accept that one. We'll accept this one. It costs us $1,000. That's fine. I only want trades that, like, import deals that are less than 1,000 units, because we'll complete them in just one rotation of ships. And so those are the only 2 that we have. That's fine. Okay. So now we have 2 imports. As soon as the next ship shows up, then these 2 will be completed. As we can see, we'll get another +5 there and +5 there. So if we check out the politics, now we're up to 65. So whenever those 2 are finished, we'll be up to 75. We can praise them to get another +10 here. That'll put us at 75 right now. Go ahead and do that. We're at 76, so we just need 5 extra points. Let's see what we can do here. You know what? We'll go ahead and just do the iron. Plus another 2,500, that's fine. So now we have the relation high enough, we can request an alliance. So they want us to sabotage the axes 4 times. Fine and dandy. We just want to get one more person here. If you chain together a bunch of raids in a row, then it might never, like, the workers will show back up on the island and then they'll just leave right away. As long as you got the raid points for it. And so that's good, but it's not good if the workers, like a worker slot is empty and it'll just like be empty the whole time. And so you definitely want to wait for it to be completely full. If a raid building is not doing a raid, then they'll be generating raid points. And so having the pirate cove's good just for that. As soon as we're done with this era, as soon as we're done with the sabotages, then I'm definitely going to delete the pirate cove because it's just costing us a bunch of money. Its whole lifetime. It's only been up for like 2 or 3 years, and that's dragged us down a whole $2,000. And as we can see, we're losing $150 a month now. But the building's completely full now, so we sabotage the axes a total of 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4. No one wants to work in this building. Always pick up this upgrade here. Costs a little bit of money, but increases the service quality. So now, everyone on the island, now that we have a doctor working here, they can come here and get some healthcare, which is pretty good. So that's usually like one of the first things that people start having a protest for is healthcare. People are going to have to walk all the way from their houses and the services in the town all the way out to these mines. And so just to speed it up a bit, what you can do is build up some bus garages. It's not going to be pretty, but I'm just going to slap down 2 here. Quick build them up real quick. As you might see here, the wage is going to be a total of $9 on the max budget. And so this means that many of these workers are going to be poor. And so there's really no way around that. You can get around it by like firing certain people and then like trying to get specific people that are married to someone that makes a lot of money. That's just too much work. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to build up some poor people infrastructure, starting with a flop house. Just like the apartments, you can tell which side is the front because the back is going to have these plants here, as you can see. So I'll put the back right here. Try and make it look decent. I think that'll look fine. And build up something like this. I'm not going to quick build that. That's fine how it is. And a nice little tip is that you can put the starting bus station, like whichever one's further away. This will make it so that the, if a worker shows up, he'll hop in a bus and then he'll drive this way first, and then he'll come back. And so, like I said in the last video and my beginner's guide, you want to pay attention to like all the little things. And so playing on times 1 speed, kind of getting all the UI out of your way and just kind of like watching your town. Already we have a criminal. Oh yeah, there's lots of crime here happening. That's a criminal robbing a criminal. This is crazy. That's a lot of crime happening right away. I did not expect that. That's not terribly significant. That is pretty cool to see though. So as you can see, both of those trade deals pop right away. And if we come and check out our relation, we have a relation of over 100 with the allies. And so it's not super duper important, but what is pretty significant is now we're going to get really good deals from them. So as we can see, like these +20s and stuff. I'm not sure Axes is giving us good deals, but we're definitely going to get the best deals possible from the allies. Oh yeah. So there's that one. We'll put this one maybe right in the middle of downtown. Right in front of the theater. Cool. It's gonna take a little time, but eventually we're gonna start generating more money. You may have noticed that my treasury's been steadily going down. Produce fish, not worried about it. Now all we gotta do is reach a state of alliance. We're already comfortably on our way there. And then once we become allies with a superpower in this era, to make it through to the next era, they're gonna give us one final task. So it's gonna be one of two things. Either they're gonna want us to complete a total of 4 trade deals, which, as you can see, sometimes you can get away with doing imports and it'll make it pop off really quickly. So we could move through potentially just a couple of months after we finish our 4th raid, and that would be really nice. But there's another task which they might give you, which is you have to wait a total of 10 years. And so a pro tip is that you can scum save right before your 4th raid finishes, and then you can keep loading back to guarantee you get the task that you have to only do 4 trade deals. And if you do that, then you'll be able to move through the era like super duper quick, and it'll be like guaranteed instead of having to wait the whole decade. But I'm not gonna do that. We'll just kind of like roll the dice, see how things go. We are losing. I want to start seeing this go up instead of going down. Ooh, look at that. Oh, actually, you know what? A lot of this money disappeared because we imported the cocoa and the iron, as well as coffee. So we'll make our investment back as soon as another ship shows up. We just gotta keep guaranteeing, we just gotta keep focusing on keeping production up. No one's gonna have to walk all the way out here, which is pretty nice. They'll just be able to take a bus to and from work. Everything's coming along pretty well. We have more open jobs than unemployed people, which is nice. But we're starting to run into getting some homeless families. So what we'll do right away is come through, demolish. And we'll start replacing these with apartment complexes. Anytime you see someone running because they just committed a crime, and you can tell a criminal is a criminal because they'll be wearing the clothes that are indicative of a broke Tropican, someone without a job. And then on top of that, you can see she has a mask on her face. So these two criminals are married to each other, which is pretty funny. And so they're well off. I wonder. Special citizens. Wow, we have 22 criminals. What? That's kind of crazy. That's a lot of criminals. Really didn't expect that. Let's check out our crime safety. Crime safety is not even that bad. It's only really near the near this dock area over here. But what I want to do is kind of like build up a pretty big downtown area with lots of like skyscrapers and stuff, and then I just want to mix in like broke Tropican, or like a broke population. So we'll just mix in a bunch of buildings where broke Tropicans will visit and where they live, and so broke Tropicans will just be walking around everywhere, and on top of that, crime safety will be really low, and so crime will just be happening all over the city. And so because that's gonna drag down the crime safety happiness, we're gonna have to make sure like everything else is pretty high up. But another thing is, to provide healthcare to broke Tropicans, we need to use the chapels. And so what I fear is that if we start building churches and cathedrals, then the broke Tropicans will go to those buildings, because any Tropican can go to a clerical building, and they won't go to chapels. And the chapel is the only way that we can give healthcare happiness to broke Tropicans. So I'm specifically only going to build chapels for this island. Yep, look at that. Making some pretty decent money. Most of that money probably came from the imports that we just did, but we should still be making some pretty decent money every month. I don't think that it'll be going down. We can ask for financial aid. Why not? Okay. Everything's coming along pretty well. We can get the industrialization. This gives us 2 years to build up some industry. I'm curious as to how many tobacco plantations we need for each cigar factory. And then on top of that, we need coal power plants. Coal power plants aren't going to be affected by the industrialization edict. So we're just going to have to fork over the 6,000 plus 12,000, 18. It's going to be like 40,000 for 2 plantations, I think. So we're just going to have to pay that up front. But in terms of getting these cigar factories, if you're ever going to build industry and you want to use the industrialization edict, then what you want to do is make sure, right here it says that it decreases construction cost of all industrial buildings by 50%. But it costs $10,000. So you don't want to use this edict if you're not saving more than $10,000. And so let's say we want to build 2 cigar factories. That's going to save us a total of almost $7,000 per factory. And if we build 2 of them, then we'll save over $10,000. And so then the industrialization edict will be worth it if we build 2 cigar factories. But on top of that, I want to start building up steel mills as well. I believe for each vehicle factory, for each one of these, we need a whole steel mill. So if we build a total of 4, that's kind of like my end game plan, is to get 4 vehicle factories. Then we're going to need a total of 4 steel mills. It would be nice to get some early on in this era. Maybe we can just go all the way and build all 4. And because we know we're going to build 4 vehicle factories, we can start kind of like planning where we're going to put them and stuff. But let's go ahead and I think maybe end game, I'd want maybe like 4. No, I think 2 cigar factories will be enough. Let's go ahead and figure where we're... Oh wow, this is a pretty big building. It's gonna leave very little room. You know what, maybe we'll build it like here. Okay, I'll build 1 on this side, and then 1 on this side. And then I'll put both coal power plants like right next to each other. I think that would be my goal here. Yeah, I mean, I might as well get this rolling now. I hate building or like relocating buildings like past the beginning of the game, because what'll happen is all these people will act like they've been fired, and if you fire a Tropican, then they won't search for a job for a long time. So you could quickly get them into a new job by just demolishing the building and then building another building, but I mean, it'll be fine. Move this plantation this way, move this one. Maybe we can just do it like that. This plantation's pretty far away, this one way over here. So you could build a whole nother bus station just for that, but I don't think it's quite necessary. Buildings are out of the way. Okay. We'll activate industrialization. We'll build our first cigar factory here. And I'll show you real quick. If you watch my beginner's guide, you can see that you can pretty easily find out how many plantations and mines are needed for like industrial buildings, but once that gets finished constructing, I'll show you. Got a lot of people over here that don't want to live in the town. The reason is probably because, no, they should be moving into a house at some point. Even if like a job, maybe if like a job's like way over here, then they wouldn't want to live here, but this should be close enough, this job site, to the town, that people will still choose to live in houses over here. And because we have definitely some open housing, I'm not sure if this works, but we can demolish all of these shacks here, and that should encourage them to seek out an actual residence. Is this person's well off or rich. I don't know why they would want to live in a shack. And some more well-off people. So, let's see here. Tobacco in 8,000 units. So it's got an input storage of 8,000, and its tobacco plantation has an output storage of 4,000. So 4,060, 8,096. And so as we can see, 4,000 times 2 equals about 8,000, right? And so 2 tobacco plantations will be able to fuel 1 cigar factory. So we have a total of 4 tobacco plantations, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so as long as these have an efficiency of at least around 100, then these buildings, or these plantations, should be able to fuel 2 cigar factories. So we'll go ahead and build up our second one here. Oops. I demolished this building because it was off center a little bit here. So I'm building, you definitely want to always be planning, and so as we can see, I can just snugly fit another road down this way. You want to build everything like in straight lines. You don't want to build buildings that are like sideways like this and stuff, because you'll just be wasting too much space. Always be clicking on your production buildings. Make sure that the output storage isn't getting too high. Once it gets like over 1,000 and you notice that there's multiple, that's whenever you want to start building some more Teamsters offices. So this looks like it's cruising along pretty well. I'm gonna probably put down our first warehouse. And the reason is that I don't want tobacco to be put on the dock. And the reason why is if we come and check out goods and prices, sort by price, cigars are going for $11,000 for 1,000 cigars, right? 1,000 units of cigars. And so if we come down and try and find tobacco, only $2,000. So it's about 8 times more expensive if it gets put into, or over 8 times more expensive if it gets put into one of these 2 buildings. So we definitely don't want just raw tobacco being sold. So I'll go ahead and build our first warehouse. Try and find somewhere neat to put it. I think this will work fine. Go ahead and do something like this. We'll end up moving this plantation eventually, and then we can fill it in with some other buildings. 11 people showed up. Make sure we have extra jobs. Make sure we have extra housing. The cigar factory. I don't think that people need to... Oh, we finished the newspaper a while back. I don't know if I... Yeah, we need to change this deals and profit. So now we're influencing everyone. As we can see, this is reaching just about the entire population, this newspaper, and it is going to push everyone towards the capitalist faction. So we could set the other one to deals and profit as well, and then we'd be moving everyone pretty quickly over to capitalist. Something important is that people that are die-hard believers in one of these political factions, like these die-hard communists, they'll never change their political ideology. At least, I don't know if it's like if we check out this guy, we can go to his happiness and we can see like all of his views. I'm not sure if we're able to even change like his militarist view here, but I know for a fact that the communist, like his communist view, this will never change because he really, really believes in it. You can force people to get rid of their political ideologies with an asylum, but I mean, I'm not terribly worried about the ideologies, especially early on. This building is finishing up. Supply local market. I went over this in the beginner's guide, so definitely check that out. I go into it after I talk about industry and yacht clubs and banks. Okay, that's not super duper worth it. Moves 2 job positions. I want to keep as many jobs as possible, at least right now. Yeah, screw it. We'll just do that. Man, the criminals are just exploding on this island. Sometimes even whenever I like specifically try to get a lot of criminals, I end up not getting a lot, but for some reason, there's getting a lot on this island. Now our cigar factories are fully staffed and fully stocked up, so we'll start producing a lot of cigars. So now would be a good time to try and find a good trade deal for cigars. So as we can see, by sorting by import-export, we can see all the exports on the top, and none of these are for cigars. But it says in 1 month we'll get new trade offers, so we'll just wait until, really it's at the beginning of every year, so January. Let's see how we're doing. Yeah, we're kind of losing a lot of money, but that's okay. Once we start producing all these cigars, we should start making like boatloads of money. Oh no, a fire, and I never built up a fire department. That's okay though. What you can do is just demolish the building and then build it up real quick, and I think that's what I'm gonna go ahead and do. Just so you don't have to like wait forever to... Don't have to wait like super long just to get plantation up and running. You can go so far as to quick build it. Double check, make sure all of our plantations are on the max budget. Same thing with all of our mines. Check out the wealth. We don't have like a whole lot of poor people. Kinda do. That's okay though. Warehouse construction stopped. Not sure why. Urban development finally ended. I don't know how. What the heck? It says it lasts for... Oh wow, this must have been updated recently because I swear this used to run for 7 years. But now it only runs for 5 years. So I bought this in the last episode and it lasted all the way till the end of this episode. Which is pretty cool. So now we have this export deal for cigars here. I would rather get something that's like even better, but I mean this will be fine. We'll just get this. So, a lot of times when doing like imports and stuff and just trying to make superpowers happy, you usually go with the lowest budget or the lowest volume. But because this is kind of like the final deal that we're gonna cut, I'm gonna go ahead and set this to 11,000 units. And so now for the next 11,000 units of exported cigars, as you can see we're selling 400 here. So for maybe like 2 years, something like that, we'll just be making like a total of 10% more money off of the cigars. 10% above the standard. So that's pretty neat. Works pretty well for us. Let's check out our raids. We only have 2 more left to go. But I think that is going to be the end of this episode. Made a lot of progress. Everything's cruising along pretty well. Starting to make a lot of money. Industry's set up pretty well. Island's looking pretty clean. And I think on the next episode, we'll definitely make it through the next era. Either, well, unless we have to wait the whole decade, then we'll probably spend like a whole nother episode in the World Wars era. But hopefully pretty soon we'll be in the modern era. Going with tourism. If you watch the beginner's guide, you'll know that there's 3 ways to make it through the World Wars era, or through the Cold Wars era. And going with tourism is like super duper duper fast. And so we'll build up a tourist port, build up like 3, 4, maybe 10 hotels, and we'll just fly through the Cold War era. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like. If you want to follow along with more of these playthroughs of Tropico, be sure to subscribe. Peace.